Hello, my name is Erin Kraske, and I will be your session moderator for today from Yellow, and your host for today's program. I am a Senior Customer Success Manager here at Yellow. Joining us today for our manufacturing, supply chain, building jobs breakout sessions are Julia Ho from the Clorox Company, Zach Ray at General Motors, and Tyler Switsky at BD. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to our attendees as well. We are excited to be part of this journey with you. Let's get started with overviews of some incredible jobs and programs in this field. Perhaps we could start with a brief overview of the types of programs and jobs offered in these industries to entering graduates at your organizations. Let's go ahead and start with Julia.
Thank you, Erin. So there are three different sectors here within Clorox that we offer programs and jobs. The first one is manufacturing. Individuals working within this sector will be divided into engineering, operations, training and qualifications, as well as HR departments. A lot of these assignments for this positions emphasize manufacturing system analysis, voice of customer, equipment design, change management, as well as project management and project execution. The second sector would be the technical side, and where individuals gain the exposure to Clorox's product portfolio, as well as sourcing strategies for the key spend areas within the Clorox organization. A lot of these individuals will participate on cross-functional teams to support the process improvement projects, as well as focusing on continual learning within the supply chain management. A lot of those roles can include process production services, sustainability, manufacturing excellence, as well as capital project management. And then, of course, lastly, we have the business sector, which individuals will gain exposure to Clorox's product portfolio from the sourcing strategy for key spending areas within the organization. A lot of those individuals participate on cross-functional teams to support the process improvement projects, while also continuing learning in the areas of the supply management process, which also includes the planning, sourcing, analytics, as well as logistics. So that's a little overview of the programs here at Clorox.
Great, thank you, Julia, and we'll kick it over to you, Zach, next.
Hi. Oh, thank you, Aaron. So General Motors, very large international company. Just like Julia said, we have multiple sectors, all the way design, build, sell of vehicles all throughout the world. Multiple brands, Cadillac, Chevrolet, GMC, primarily in the US, multiple brands overseas as well. So what we do in each of the sectors, most people are familiar with the design and the build sectors, but we also have a lot of other sectors that are very important, like our finance sectors, HR sectors, and each one of those has very specific roles that formulate up and build into General Motors. And each one of those jobs, what I like about General Motors is it's a very large company. So you can rotate from one job to another and really find the one that best suits you. So we're looking from most people of any sort of degree type. So business degrees can work at General Motors all the way up through engineering. I know for me growing up, I always used to think it was all engineers that worked at car companies. That's not true. That's not the way it is anymore. So General Motors, very large company, and it's very open to all sorts of different degrees. If you're looking to the future and innovative type technologies, we're one of the leaders in electrical vehicles in the world. And that takes a lot of really good, skilled people like the people we're talking to today. Thank you, Aaron.
All right, lastly, we're going to kick it over to Tyler to tell us a little bit more about BD.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin. My name is Tyler, and I'm with BD, one of the leading global medical technology and medical device companies in the world. And we are proud to offer 4 different leadership development programs in the supply chain and manufacturing space that folks who are early in their career are able to join. So all of these programs are housed in what we call our integrated supply chain organization, which covers the functions of quality, manufacturing, supply chain, and procurement. So each program at BD is housed within one of these functions. So we have the supply chain development program, the procurement development program, the quality development program, and the manufacturing development program. And these programs are 3-year rotational focus programs where in each year you're rotating to a new opportunity. in one of these functions. So for example, in our quality development program, you'd be able to get exposure to areas like quality control, quality assurance, manufacturing quality, and our central quality team as well. Some of the other benefits about our programs here at BD is that they are in some cases global. So you're able to rotate to a different country or to a number of our locations here in the United States. And these are cohort-based models as well. So you're joining these programs with other folks, you're growing your career alongside them as well. And then the last thing I'll say about our programs here at BD is that they are all leadership focused. So leadership in our organization are very involved in these programs and also make the associates who join them leadership capable as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tyler. And thank you everyone for the wonderful overviews of your companies and programs. Diving into our questions and topics today, wanted to start off with question number 1. Focusing on understanding the organization's value proposition and your value to that proposition. And I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Tyler to kick us off here.
Great. Thanks, Erin. So a number of things that I always encourage folks who are earlier in their career to look for as they're joining a company is, does it align with your values? So at BD, our big values are we do what's right. We're all accountable, and there's a number of other values that we're held to as well, but those are the two that stick out in my mind. And so when I was looking for jobs when I was earlier in my career, that was one thing I looked for, and that advice has stuck with me to today. There are a number of ways to assess an employer's value proposition, and that's in their actions and what they're putting out from press releases, what's listed on their website. And then also just the sense and the feel that you get when you research a company, right? Do you see people reflected in photographs that look like you? Do you see opportunities for folks who are earlier in their career or later in their career? So those types of values and actions are really speak volumes. One of the questions that I get a lot on campus as we go into values and value propositions are, what are we doing from a sustainability standpoint? 5 years ago, we weren't getting that question as much, but now that there's such an emphasis on sustainability and the environment and companies' impact on the environment and our climate, I'm really happy that folks are asking that question. So at BD, one of the things that I love to highlight when students ask that question on campus is that we publish an annual sustainability report that gives insight into the work that we're doing from a sustainability and environmental consciousness standpoint. It's publicly available and it's a lot of really great information. And then recently, one of the things that I'm really proud of is we recently launched a new recycling program with an organization called Casella. So some of our single-use plastics that come from our injectables business are now being recycled under a new technology. And that's taking us out of the landfills 100%. So it's really exciting in our injectables business to see that type of work being done. So one of the examples of how to assess is just through, like I said, those press releases, those new areas of opportunity, and looking at an employer's website to find out that information.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler. I couldn't agree more. It's important to make sure you're aligned with the organization's values. What are your thoughts, Zach?
I agree with Tyler. So it's very important that you align what you want to do with what the company is looking to do. So like I said, do the research on your company and what job you're applying for. Does it meet the things that you want to do and the person you want to be? Do you have the experience that aligns with that job and that job description? It's not about, hey, that job would be really interesting to do. It's a job that I want to do and I want to grow and it interests me, because what's very important is engagement. And if you're not going to be engaged in the role that you're applying for, then you should find a better one that's more suited to you. And it's really important, right? So you understand what results you've had in jobs with those similar requirements, and do you even meet the job qualifications that are posted? It's all about alignment, just like Tyler said, what I have done, who I want to be, and where I want to go.
Really great point, Zach. Thank you. How about you, Julia?
Very similar to what Tyler and Zach have said. I definitely think being early in your career, you definitely do want to do the research, but also you as an individual should really think about, where do I want to go 5 years, 10 years? Where do I want to be within an organization? Does this organization, what can I bring to them, but what can they do for me? How's the culture? Do I have room for further development growth? Things of that nature are very key. Definitely doing the research as well is key, but also kind of figuring out the path that you want to take. I know early on in my career, I went from HR to recruiting to benefits, and I got to do a lot of the things that I thought I wanted to do. Been in the role, I really could learn what matched my personality and what I really could give wholeheartedly to the organization. So I really think all of those things encompassed are really important when it comes to looking for what's good for you, but also what you can bring to the company as well. So all good points.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julia. Yes, I think super important to, as you mentioned, do your research, make sure you align with the company's values, and then really understand what the company's values are. So thank you everyone for your insight on that question. Moving into our topic number 2 for today, would love to hear more from the group on how do I break in and really understanding the recruiting process. We're going to start with you, Julia.
Thank you, Erin. So the interview process, as well as kind of the questions, are key. I feel like all candidates should really probe the recruiter and ask very specific questions, and ask for a little bit of guidance. No recruiter is going to say no when you're asking questions such as, what do you think the hiring manager is looking for? What are the particular skill sets that they're looking for? Is there a specific platform or technology that they're looking for in those experiences? And definitely showing and asking and probing those questions to get a deeper dive, so that when you do speak to the hiring manager, you really can project the best of your knowledge on whatever platform, technology, or any of those pieces that you can bring. Definitely, doing your research, reviewing the job description, kind of narrowing in on those key skill sets that the recruiter has explained, as well as showing examples of how you can demonstrate, or how you've used a platform, are also really key things to keep in mind. And also definitely being able to be analytical and show how you were able to provide a solution for a specific problem that maybe occurred with using a specific technology, and being able to show how you can pivot, but also being able to speak up and share your thoughts about certain things within that process is also very important as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. Yeah, I think one important thing you made note of there is you won't get the answers to questions you do not ask. So that's a really great point.
Yes, 1000%.
What are your thoughts on this, Zach?
Okay, so just like Julia said, you have to understand the process. You have to know that your recruiter is, I hate to say it, but your friend in the process, right? They want to hire you. They want to hire on good people. They want to, and that recruiter is kind of interviewing you too, right? So you want to always be alert, friendly, courteous, honest to all the people that you talk to when you're trying to get hired onto a company. And like I said, the recruiter is interviewing you just like you're interviewing them. If they talk in upbeat, courteous tones, that's probably a good idea for a company. And I can't stress the importance of communication. So the more and more I grow up, the more and more I understand and work, and I feel that communication is one of the fundamental aspects that everyone has to have in any company that they work at. And that starts with the interview and application process. So just common courteous things that people often overlook, like sending a good thank you note. It can make the difference. And especially, you got to have patience, right? You don't want to lead off an email 10 seconds later after you've had the interview with, did I get the job? Be patient, let the process work. And sometimes that patience is hard, but that's why it's important to understand the timing and the process, talking to the recruit ahead of time so you don't get overly anxious or excited about it. And you have to learn from each interview you do, right? Communicate how your feedback and evaluate yourself, how you did. Make sure that's the right fit for the company and the right fit for yourself.
Great. Thank you, Zach. I think all really great points. And, one thing I'll drive home is communication is everything. So thank you for sharing that. We're going to go ahead and kick it over to you, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, so much of what Julia and Zach said is incredibly important. And I think about What I learned having been on this side as a student and then now being in this field and having done so for quite some time, I never really understood like what happened to me after I submitted an application. So when I think back to when I was applying for internships, probably applied to like 50, 60 internships when they got posted. And then I wasn't hearing back. But what I didn't consider was the thousands and thousands of other people that were applying for those same roles. So at BD, you can apply for a role and you're one of, 1,000 or so people across a number of different roles that we offer. And so that takes a lot of time. We hand review every application at BD. We're looking at your qualifications. We want to make sure that we're able to assess you and ensure that you're getting a fair crack in the process. And so that takes time. And we want to be able to get back to you as quickly as possible. So once that application goes in, like Zach was alluding to, it takes a little bit, that patience element is key. And checking your application status through the applicant tracking system to which you applied is a great way to keep a tab on where you're at. And then once you do get to that next phase, I think the big thing is like keeping a mutual respect once that conversation kicks off, right? So if someone is getting back to you, getting back to them in a prompt amount of time, so that they can get a sense of your engagement in the process. When a hiring manager sends an invitation for an interview, ensuring that you're RSVPing to those interviews, that communication and that mutual respect goes a long way in the process.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tyler. I think really great points. And I think one thing to call out there is the interview process really is the first impression with your potential future employer. So appreciate those call outs. Lastly, we are going to go ahead and kick it over to Julia to wrap us up on this topic.
So, just to wrap things up, I definitely think, having that communication, but most importantly, do not ghost your employer. If, not every role is the best fit for you. If you feel like, throughout the interview process, as you move through that this is not a fit, just let the recruiter know. Say, be respectful of their time as well as yours. Just let them know that, this has been a great opportunity. However, you've decided to move on with other opportunities or or if you receive another job offer, just let the recruiter know, because at the end of the day, you just never know who you're going to meet. And you never want to start off your career, whether you be early in your career, a manager, or even a director, or even a VP. You always want to give proper notice. You want to be courteous and let them know, that you've either find another opportunity, but always keep that open communication and have always that professional courtesy.
Great. Thank you so much, Julia. I think super important and connections are everything. So important to maintain a good relationship throughout that interview process. All
Absolutely.
Right. Moving on to topic number 3, wanted to chat a little bit about exploring the many opportunities and tracks available in the supply chain industry and really know the impact of the program's offering. We're going to go ahead and get started with you, Zach.
Thanks, Erin. So it's very important to understand that coming out of college and coming into these roles, not everyone knows what they want to do. So looking at multiple different companies like I've talked about, like Tyler's talked about, and Julia's talked about, you have to do your research on the company that you're applying for and understand what programs they have that will help you find what you really want to do. For example, not each function, not each place, but there are many rotational programs that you can go through to understand, hey, maybe I want to be in a manufacturing sector, or I'm more in a design sector, or I'm more in a supply chain sector. What side of supply? Is it direct material, indirect material? You have to understand what is important for you, and you have to find a company, if you're unsure of what that is, that will align with your goals to help you find what you really want to do. You do that, you research the company's website, think of how you can contribute in that particular sector or that job, and tailor your resume to make it really stand out to people who are looking for someone just like that. Use impactful words, and you want to be very qualitative on that resume. I did this, I saved this much money, and very finite and to the point. And as you go through that different track in that rotation program and try those different jobs, you try to find a place that you can call home, right? And when you find a place that's called home, you become engaged in the process. Just like I said earlier, engagement in the process is very important to help you grow with your different experiences.
Great, thank you, Zach. I think one common theme we're hearing throughout is making sure you're doing your research. It's super important. All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Julia. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. That research is key, but also, even within the Clorox organization, we give you the opportunity to kind of figure out what you want to do with our co-ops. Like I said before, we do have 3 tracks: the business track, the technical track, and of course the manufacturing track. And it's really important to note that they're all different roles under the supply organization. So hence the different majors and different experiences. It's not simply a supply chain job, it's what you do under the supply chain group. So within the 3 tracks, you can go from supply chain management to engineering to even something on the technical side. So definitely lots of room for growth and opportunity to give students and even people who are early in their career to really find what their passion is and kind of grow that technical curiosity, and then to kind of move forward within the organization. And a lot of these positions are pipelines into full-time roles that we offer within the supply chain organization. So you could come in from an internship to do a co-op, which then could lead into a full-time position within the organization where you would be getting benefits and you would be getting PTO and 401k and all the other things that come with a full-time position.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. Really, really great points. Love to hear your thoughts, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, so much of what Julia and Zach have already said really resonates with me, but I want to ensure that I don't leave off the fact that how critical internships and co-ops are in this process. I would not be sitting in this seat today without the internships that I had earlier in my career to be able to launch myself into this space. And so you may not know exactly what you want to do when you enter into these internships, and that's perfectly okay. These are opportunities for you to expand and get beyond your comfort zone a little bit, and for you to truly assess what it is that you want to do from a company standpoint, from an industry standpoint, as well as from a functional standpoint. I think too, it's like that old adage of like, you don't know what you don't know until you do it. And so that experimental opportunity that you get from doing an internship or a co-op, it allows you to have that space of learning, growth, in some cases failure, or I never want to do this again, but it teaches you that lesson to go off and do more. And like Julia said, so many of the internship opportunities that you earn lead to full-time employment post-graduation. It really is a pipeline and a strategy for organizations to utilize interns as that feeder for full-time roles. So take advantage of those internships, have those conversations around with managers and mentors around what it is that you want to do. And then, keep in touch as you work towards graduation to see what opportunities exist from a postgraduate perspective.
Great. Thank you, Tyler. I think one thing that really stood out there is what you said around, you don't know what you don't know until you do it. And I think that's a really great point and piece of advice, and just goes to say, don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone and try new things out, because you'll figure out what's going to be the right fit for you by trying out those new things. All right. So we talked a lot about what to do and what's helpful for you in your journey and finding your career, but would love to spend a little bit of time talking about what not to do. Would love to hear from the group on any pieces of advice that you can pass along on what you would avoid doing in your job search. I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Tyler to kick us off.
Sure. I mean, there's many things that I've seen over the course of my career where it's maybe surprised me a little bit, but it's some of that learning that we talked about earlier in the session. One of the things that I've seen that's I think I've seen an increase in my career is the walking back on an offer, or it's known in the industry as reneging on an offer. There are policies in like career services around reneging, and so it's something that we know happens, and there are so many circumstances that would cause someone. So I don't want to say that this is a not to do unless it's truly something that you have to do. but just being mindful of how you go about that process. If you do get another offer or something changes in your situation, how you respond to the organization that you've committed to, I think is really an important factor. So avoid it as much as possible at all costs, because there are, like I said, policies at your institutions that employers have to report it. It can result in some, it can result in some difficulties in your relationship with the career services offices at your institutions, and it could prevent you, like we talked about earlier, from like similar to ghosting, like burning a bridge, at a future point in your career that you may not have anticipated before making that decision.
Absolutely. Yeah, really great point. Thanks, Tyler. Julia, would love to get your thoughts on any advice on what not to do.
I mean, I think what Tyler said, he definitely hit the nail on the head with that. I think it's extremely important that individuals really do their research, such as if you are relocating, ask the recruiter, is there a relocation package available with the offer? Do your research on salary. Salary is different from, geographical location. What as an engineer in Atlanta makes is completely different from an engineer in Boston, New York, or even Los Angeles. So definitely understanding kind of what you need from your organization, also on a personal level, is really key. That way, when you do get to the offer, you have the tools and you know what you're looking for in an organization, so that when the offer is presented, it's an offer that you can accept wholeheartedly and that you are more than happy to start and excited about the opportunity. So there's no miscommunication.
Yeah, really great point, Julia. And I think it just drives home a lot of what we talked about with the what to do during the day is really doing your research and understanding that the company is going to be a good fit for what you're looking for and what aligns with your values. All right, lastly, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you, Zach.
Thanks, Aaron. So one thing not to do and one thing to do. First thing not to do is to go into the interview extremely scared, right? Don't be nervous. We're just here to talk to you. Try to understand who you are. See if you're a fit, just like you're interviewing us. Don't be shy. Be yourself, because that's what we need to know. We need to know who the person is that's going to show up to the plan every day, not the person who's shy to talk about questions. Be yourself in the interview. The second thing that we want to make sure people do is that as they're going through the interview, they want to extremely focus on not skipping the most important step, in my opinion, of the interview process, is that getting that person to feel like they're involved in the question. Tell them your story. Really get them engaged in what you're saying so that they feel the pain or they feel the gain of what you're doing. Explain the story. If that takes up a minute of the interview, that's fine. You have to engage the people in what you're talking about so that they can feel and understand why you made those decisions and what the true outcome of those decisions was.
Awesome. Really great point, Zach. I love the be yourself. I think being your genuine self throughout the interview process is so important, and it's only going to help not only you, but the company make sure that it's the right fit for who you truly are and what you're looking for. So those are really great points. Well, that wraps up our topics for today. Thank you so much all for joining us. Please feel free to reach out with any additional questions and take advantage of the many resources available to you from WayUp and Yellow. And we're excited for you and your journey ahead.